And we're back with the Rod and Greg Show here on Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS and everywhere on the iHeart Radio app.
Very good. I don't know about you. I haven't seen any big bump for Kamala since the convention. Now, there was the story over the weekend, and I just saw the headline that she was up by 7 points, which I'm sorry, I don't believe. But looking around at things, I don't see a big bump for Kamala since the convention. Do you?
No, it's because it doesn't exist. I've looked everywhere. I've been watching this. It doesn't, and even whatever we're seeing by way of polls and even the betting market. Betting markets might be reflecting the news of late last week with RFK Jr. Endorsing Trump. But betting markets, even Nate Silver saying, are your most dependable bellwether right now. And there isn't a bump. Right now, nationally, they've got the bettors are 50% Trump, 49% Harris. And that's after the Democrat National Committee.
Wow.
He's up in Georgia. He's up in Arizona. He's up in Nevada. He's up in Pennsylvania, down in Wisconsin, down in Michigan on the betting lines.
Yeah.
On the betting lines.
Yeah.
So that doesn't amount to the kind of bump that a traditional candidate gets after their party's convention. And it certainly doesn't look anywhere close to the bump she got when Biden dropped out, which was, I would say, more of a everyone's excited he's out of there than it was excited about Harris.
Well, joining us on our Newsmaker line to talk more about this, is this still Donald Trump's race to lose? Joining us is Eric Lendrum. He is a contributor at American Greatness. Eric, how are you? Welcome to the Rod and Greg Show. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
I'm doing great today. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
I know, Eric, you've done a two-part piece on this, taking a look at this race. What is your assessment right now? Is this, in fact, Donald Trump's race to lose, in your opinion?
Well, as you guys said earlier, any media hype we're hearing around Kamala Harris is just that. It's media hype. You know, a few polls may come out here and there with really bad sample sizes, or maybe a few polls that were conducted 2 or 3 weeks ago that they suddenly decided to release today to say, oh, look, she's still ahead. But at the end of all of the media, that's all just the noise, as Steve Bannon would say. The fundamentals in this race are still strongly in favor of President Trump. And first off, you just look at the electoral map right now. Right now, at the minimum, Trump has 235 electoral votes to Kamala's 226. That's not factoring in the 6 swing states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. I want to take this moment first off to say, as I said in my piece, we need to dispel this fiction that Georgia is still a swing state. Yeah. Georgia is solidly in President Trump's column for a number of reasons. I mean, number one, do you guys remember that that law, that election integrity law in Georgia that was passed, that the Democrats swore up and down, it's Jim Crow 2.0. They all tried to boycott it. They sued to get it overturned. It was upheld in court. And then what happened? It was put to the test in the 2022 midterms. And yeah, Herschel Walker lost the Senate race, but that was the exception, not the rule. All the other statewide candidates won by bigger margins across the board, governor and otherwise, than they did in 2018. The state is, and you've especially heard now, of course, because people talk about, the feud between President Trump and Governor Kemp. The two have made up. Yep. There was a story that Breitbart did a while ago saying that Governor Kemp privately told Senator Lindsey Graham and a few others that he plans to put his entire political machine behind getting President Trump reelected. So between those irrefutable numbers, we can put Georgia in President Trump's column. That puts him at a minimum of 251 electoral votes. That's just 19 away from the 270 threshold right there. At that point, he only needs to win just a couple of those other remaining swing states. The biggest one, of course, being Pennsylvania. If he flips Pennsylvania along with Georgia, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, that's 270 electoral votes right there. He doesn't need anything else. So the fact of the matter is that Kamala's path to 270 is much narrower than President Trump's.
So one of the things that you point out, and I think it's critical for our listeners to appreciate, you look at crosstabs, meaning they do in these polls show who it is that they're asking these questions of who they're going to vote. These crosstabs show that they are representing, of the pool of people that they ask questions, identified Democrats +10, +12 in some of these polls. And the assumption there is that they think that Democrats are going to turn out at 10%, 12% more than Republicans. And even then, after they do that, they can't get those numbers outside of the margin of error. Is that right?
Exactly. This is something that they have been doing for a while now. They did this in 2016 and they did it in 2020, and they're doing it again now. The sample sizes are just completely wrong. So as you mentioned, those are two polls that I mentioned in my second piece. The first is a national poll by The Economist and YouGov, which ultimately showed Kamala with 46%, President Trump at 44%, and RFK with 3%. Now, first off, that right there is a Trump victory. If she's only leading him by about 2 points in the popular vote nationally, that is still an electoral college victory. You know, Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 by about 2.5 against Hillary Clinton. He still won the electoral college. But the crosstabs of this poll shows that the sample size was D plus 10. That is obviously not at all accurate as to the political makeup, the party registration of this country. So if you correct it for what the national makeup is, which is probably somewhere closer to maybe D plus 4, D plus 5 nationally, that's a clear President Trump victory in the popular vote. Another example is a statewide poll of Texas by the left-wing activist group ActiVote, which showed Trump with a 6-point lead over Kamala in Texas, 53 to 47. Now, of course, they may think, oh, it's only a single-digit lead in Texas. This is bad news for Trump. Except the sample size was D plus 12.
Wow.
And which is obviously not accurate if you correct it for what Texas actually is. And consider that. If it's D plus 12 and he's beating her still by 6 points, then a correct sample size would have him taking the state by double digits, by the same margins by which Greg Abbott won re-election. So when you factor in these incorrect sample sizes, it's clear they are just juicing up the polls in any way they can to try to make it look like it's a close race.
Eric, have you delved into voter turnout? Because there's no doubt that with this being a close election, which I think a lot of people believe it will be, the get out the vote effort is going to be extremely important. What are you hearing about that? Not so much from the Democratic side, but is there a renewed effort now on the Republican side to finally get out the vote?
That is absolutely something that is being done, and it is so important that this is done because, of course, in 2020, they weaponized the COVID-era voter fraud practices. They did ballot harvesting. They used ballot drop boxes, third-party ballot harvesting, what have you. And Republicans just didn't do that in 2020. The talking point always was, just come out and vote on Election Day, vote at the polling station, vote on a paper ballot, and the Election Day, votes will override all that early voting. That obviously did not happen. Now, this time around, we are seeing efforts towards that by mostly outside groups. And a big champion of this is Charlie Kirk. Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, their 501c4 branch. They have been working overtime to register more voters that they then hope to turn out to vote in November. One big one is Arizona, where Turning Point is headquartered. Republicans now register over 242,000 more voters than registered Democrats in the state of Arizona. And they flipped Yuma County from plurality Democrat to plurality Republican. So if you turn out even just half of that, margin, half of that 242,000 margin, that's an easy victory in Arizona right there. You have others like Scott Bressler, who's doing great work in Pennsylvania especially, but other swing states, trying to register people to then get them to turn out to vote. Because this is one point I always bring up with 2020. President Trump was completely outmatched. The Republicans were outmatched by the voter fraud machine. You had Zuckerberg spending $300 million. You had Soros spending all of his money, the ballot harvesting, everything. Republicans had none of that going for them. They were outspent by conventional campaign means. And yet at the end of it all, guys, they still only barely stole it. Trump still only barely, quote unquote, lost by 10,000 votes in Wisconsin, 11 in Arizona, 11,000 in Georgia. And that just shows how powerful the natural, organic, grassroots base was for President Trump in 2020, when people weren't necessarily happy with, his handling of the race riots or the COVID lockdowns, what have you. So this time around, with all those efforts by outside groups, if we even do just maybe 5% of their 100%, voter turnout machine, we should easily beat them this time.
All right, Eric, as always, great chatting with you. Great work on this, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, that's Eric Lentrum. He is with American Greatness, saying this is still Donald Trump's race to lose. And you look at the electoral map, he's there.
I want to talk about this when we come back. I'm not finished. I know we have to finish the interview. We got to go to a break, but I got things. There's points to be made about this. Eric, I'm picking up what Eric's putting down, and there's some important points to share with listeners about this, I swear.